So, I want to tell you guys a story, and it's a story about how I once in my life believed all the bullshit that the fitness influencers was spewing on their Instagram, on their YouTube, on their TikTok, and just overall. And you probably know what I'm talking about because I know that you've heard all the bullshit that they're talking about. It's all about counting calories, doing hours on a treadmill, count every single food that you're eating, measure. It's all about calories in and calories out. Don't even care about your hormones. Don't even care about the different mechanisms that is happening inside of your body when you're consuming certain type of foods because 100 grams of broccoli is exactly the same as 100 grams of red meat. It's just all about the calories. But eating these foods and following their advice just kept me in a miserable state and also in a state of malnourishment, and I couldn't even lose the weight that I wanted to lose. And you know what the funny part is? I used to think that people like Greg Doucette had it all figured out. I used to think that these people that were talking about it not being about calories in and calories out, the side that I'm actually on today, was wrong. And I thought people like Greg Doucette, people like Mike Israetel, and all these fitness influencers, these like cringe 40-year-old guys, all jacked up on fucking testosterone and steroids. I thought that they had all the answers. Calories in and calories out. Of course, like it's so obvious. Our body is just some type of calculator that measures how much we eat. And then after that, depending on if we eat too much or too low, we can burn fat or we can store fat. Like now, it's more of a thing of common sense. Like, of course, our body doesn't work like that. You cannot compare the human body to a calculator. It's more of a biochemistry lab. And do you know why they tell you it doesn't matter what you eat? Like, you can eat a pizza, you can have your sweets, as long as you're in a caloric deficit. Do you know why they tell you that? It's because they sell you supplements that will help with fat loss. But what I am about to tell you, you don't gotta pay me anything. Quite literally, the only person or the only thing you gotta pay for is the food that I will be advising. And best case scenario, you'll just be paying a farmer, and that goes for a good cause. So let's talk about the first initial chapter of my fat loss journey about 3 years ago. I did everything by the book. I sat there eating my 1,800 worth of calories of dry chicken breast, steamed broccoli, and fucking boiled rice with no sauces, no seasoning, just salt, and I was almost puking every single meal. And apart from that, during the day, I was also eating dry rice cakes, sometimes with peanut butter, depending on if I wanted to lose weight or not, because peanut butter is a fat source, it has a lot of calories. Calories doesn't even exist, by the way. And I was also eating egg whites because the egg yolk has so much calories because once again it's fat and fat has a lot of calories. But what they forgot to tell me is that the egg yolk contains all the nutrition that is essential for testosterone building inside of your body because cholesterol is actually the first precursor to testosterone. So in order for your body to create testosterone, it needs different things, and the first thing it needs is cholesterol. Wow. And the worst part of this was I was constantly thinking about food. And I already knew way ahead of time that this journey wasn't going to be easy because every single time I was watching these bodybuilders, getting stage ready, they always spoke about how depriving this is and how annoying it is because every single minute of the day, even when they're eating food, they are thinking about food. And you know why? Because you are depriving your body of nutrients. You're in a caloric deficit, which most of you will think, yeah, of course, you're just gonna be hungry per definition because you're not eating enough calories. But it's not so much about that. It's more about the fact that you are not giving your body the essential nutrients that it needs. Your body does not, give a fuck about calories. It actually cares about nutrients. So a person who eats a in a caloric deficit, but he might be, eating shitty foods, will feel 10 times worse than a person who is also in a caloric deficit but eats a nutritional appropriate diet. Let's say he just consumes animal products, no fiber, no vegetables, and no fucking fruit whatsoever. But, anyways, I'm getting way ahead of myself. Please, let me just return back to the main story. I was, in my kitchen cooking up all these foods. I usually did like Sunday as a full prep day. So, Sundays, I would usually spend most of the day just cooking up some rice, broccoli, and also boiling. Yes, boiling, because of course, frying in a pan would equal more calories. So I was boiling chicken. And after that, I would just head to sleep. Now, this food that I cooked was first and foremost disgusting, but it wasn't even giving me the nutrients that I needed. So I was constantly being hungry, right? Like, imagine I would spend the whole Sunday working like some type of robot, like a machine, just cooking up the food and doing nothing else. And these meals that I consumed, they also made me bloated. They made me extremely irritable, moody. I also got like skin issues and other severe things. Like, I looked average and I felt terrible. And it was honestly the worst type of experience I've ever experienced in my entire life. So the story went like this: I'd lose like 2 or 3 kilos, but then I'd gain like 4 or 5 kilos back. My energy was shot. My sleep was horrible. I could not even sleep. Even though I lie down in bed and I close my eyes, I cannot recall that I slept even a minute during those days. And I thought that I wasn't disciplined enough. I thought that I maybe hit a plateau, so maybe I just needed to decrease my calories more, or maybe I just needed to increase my cardio. That's the bullshit that these fitness influencers tell you day by day. And then finally, some turning point came. I remember vividly how I stood in front of a mirror and I looked at my physique. And I was thinking to myself, there has to be something that I'm doing so extremely wrong. But what could it be? Because I'm literally following the set rules by the book of fitness garbage influencers. I'm literally following the rules to the T. But my body was looking so trash. I still had a skinny fat physique. You know, I wasn't too bulky, but I wasn't too skinny. I was something in between. And to be quite honest, the only time I looked good was when I had a chest bump at the gym with optimal lighting. I did not look good without a shirt, without no pump. I did not look good in the gym if I did any type of other muscle group, but if the lighting was bad. I needed optimal lighting, I needed optimal pump in order to even look remotely good. This next part of the story might seem like a sidetrack, but it actually, goes hand in hand with the story that I'm telling you. So, for those of you that don't know, I actually come from a background where I had a autoimmune condition which is called ulcerative colitis. And during this time, my condition was very, very bad. Like, I'm talking about progressively, it was just getting worse and worse day by day. And for those of you that might not know what ulcerative colitis is, it's basically where your large intestine is inflamed. So, in short, when I was going to the bathroom, I had bloody stools almost every day. Now, this is a very severe disease because, as I said, it just progressively gets worse and it's chronic. It's lifelong. As I mentioned, my disease was, getting worse and worse day by day. At this time, I was this close of getting admitted to surgery because, my bowels were so inflamed and they were afraid that this would eventually lead to cancer because the more inflammation you have in a tissue, the more your chances of cancer increase. So they told me, if this medication doesn't work, because this is the last medication we have, then unfortunately we're going to have to admit you to surgery and we're going to remove your bowel. And of course, I was so afraid of going into surgery. I wasn't really like afraid. It's not afraid might be the wrong word, but I've always my entire life thought that it doesn't, seem right that God or the universe or nature created us as a whole with lots of different components and organs and whatnot. And then we just, become sick and now we have to remove that organ. Never seemed, okay to me. So what happened was, after that hospital visit, I remember coming home and I was so shocked. And I thought to myself, what can I do? Because I was desperate. Remember, like, I didn't want to go into surgery. And I remember I was being like nervous and I felt like I was in the point of no return. I could not see the light ahead of me. I literally was staring directly at a wall. And I remember being anxious and kind of having this, not a panic attack, but I was kind of having a panic attack at the same time, but I don't know how to explain it. Nevertheless, what I did was I stumbled upon this random guy, this random doctor, talking about just consuming red meat. And I thought to myself, I have heard this before. I've heard this before at the Joe Rogan podcast, where Jordan and his daughter Michaela Peterson were guests one time, and they spoke about how they are consuming only meat, and it's apparently called the carnivore diet. Now, this was very weird. Like, coming from the mainstream narrative where you have to eat a balanced diet and vegetables are good for you, I just thought these people were lunatics, and especially this doctor. I was like, yo, somebody come get this medical license away. Like, this is a lunatic. What is this guy talking about? Of course I'm gonna consume my broccoli. Of course I need my kale. That's a superfood. Or so I thought at least. And the worst part was he specifically said that he only consumes red meat, salt, and water and nothing else. And that's where I was taken back because I knew that the carnivore diet you could at least include things like butter, eggs, and dairy. And yes, I was intrigued, but at the same time, I was open minded. So I kept on watching, and the more I listened, the more it clicked. And it even clicked way more when he actually spoke about how autoimmunity, which is one of the diseases that I have, for example, that's classed as a autoimmune condition, could be cured and reversed, or at least you could halt the symptoms drastically and have great improvements by eating this way. Now I thought to myself, okay, maybe I can put the bodybuilding dieting on hold and just try this for like a month or so just to see if my symptoms get better. Because remember, I told you guys I was this close to getting my bowels removed. I did not want that. And besides, this guy was also talking about how he stays in shape most of the year, and he isn't hungry. He doesn't count calories. He only eats when he is hungry, and he rarely gets hungry. I think he only spoke about eating one time a day. And I thought to myself, that's crazy. But I was open minded. So the next day, I started the carnivore diet. To be honest, I went all in. You guys got to realize something. I came from a background of doing nicotine pouches, partying. Like I wasn't partying that much, but still I was consuming alcohol from time to time. I drank lots of energy drinks, junk food, candy, etc. But now, overnight, I quit those things cold turkey, went to the store, bought one of the fattiest ribeyes that I ever saw because I heard that, fat is the answer. And I salted it and I cooked it up. I ate that with nothing else. And lo and behold, I felt absolutely amazing. For the first time in years, I felt satiated. I wasn't full, I felt satiated. Most of you guys out there have never felt satiated. You have felt full, but feeling satiated is a completely different feeling. The best part is my brain was calm. My cravings, they disappeared. I didn't think about pizza. I didn't think about salty junk food or sugary junk food. My brain was so calm. It was like meditation, complete silence. So, of course, I thought to myself, I gotta do this again. So I did. For dinner, and for the next day, and for the next couple of weeks. And as time went by, my autoimmune condition got better. But this video isn't about my autoimmune condition, so I'm gonna move away from that and talk more about my body transformation. My face leaned out, and my body leaned out as well. And I had so much energy that every time I would enter the gym, I could not get tired. As soon as I felt that I was getting tired, my body produced way more energy. It was like a never-ending cycles. I could be at the gym without any caffeine or pre-workout or no BS supplements for 3 hours. And I could even be there longer, but I have a life. So, eventually I had to leave the gym. My point being, the the endless energy was insane. And the funny part is, I was eating more calories than I used to do, but I still wasn't gaining fat. Day by day, I was getting leaner. Month by month, I was getting stronger. And I could also pack on muscle way more easily than I ever could before. Turns out, when you give your body fat and protein, the two components that you're built out of, you will thrive. And your body will look like a fucking superhuman body. Like, guys, honestly, I am this lean all year around. Whether I train or not, I am this lean. I'm this muscular year round. And the only thing I consume is basically meat. Sure, some days I'll have eggs, but 99% of the time is only meat. No more insulin spikes from all those oatmeal bowls for breakfast. No more low testosterone because of the low fat percentage levels. I'm literally at like 8 or 10% and I feel amazing. I don't have low testosterone. I feel absolutely energized every single day. I have a purpose. I do everything with intent. And these bodybuilders, when they hit the 10 or 8% mark, they feel like shit and they wonder why. And let me say this clearly. If your fat loss plan is making you weak, you are doing it completely wrong. And this is a lie that we have been told. But I got tired of feeling like shit. And I would never, ever in my life go back to the way I felt. Because that was horrible. Greg Doucette, Mike Israetel, and all those other bullshit influencers will scream at the screen and tell you it's all about calories. Don't listen to the carnivores or don't listen to the keto people. It's all about calories. But that's not the full story. If you eat hyper palatable junk food, a few things will happen. One of them is that you will eventually, when you're dieting, when you're being too restrictive on calories, go back to those hyper palatable foods because you're not giving yourself the nutrients that you need. And number two, your body is so dependent on them. When you eat junk food, your microbiome inside your gut actually changes, which means that you will create a certain type of strain of bacteria which feeds on sugar. This thing just gets progressively worse. And the thing is, when you cut out sugar, the symptoms will just get worse. Another thing is, when you do a if it fits your macros approach, basically where you eat almost anything you want as long as it can fit into your daily caloric intake, what you're doing here is you're intaking lots and lots of processed foods. Think about it. 0-calorie sodas, 0-calorie snacks, like those gummy bears with 0 calories and no added sugar. These are just processed junk foods. They're no better than the Beyond Meat burgers or the McDonald's food. Just because it says it's a fitness brand or it's a 16 grams of protein cookie doesn't make it better. It's literally the same coin but different sides. And the funny thing is that they will promote all these like volume eating, eat your vegetables because vegetables has a lot of fiber, it's filling. But why is it filling? It's because you can't even digest it. Fiber is indigestible for most animals on the planet. And no vertebrate animal, by the way, can break down fiber. It's not them, it's actually their bacteria in the gut that breaks down the fiber for them. On top of that, as I said, you'll add a lot of like protein cookies, protein ice cream, 0-calorie drinks. These are Franken foods. Like this is some Frankenstein bullshit, and these will just wreck your gut and have you bloated and feeling sick all the time. It's not about health, and that's not sustainable whatsoever. Fitness is not about just looking good. It's about feeling good and looking healthy. As I said, when I went animal-based, or let's just say carnivore because I like the word more, my body and my face, everything just changed. I leaned out. I literally could not pack on fat. My energy levels were stable. I wasn't moody. I wasn't irritable. My hormones were optimized. Every single thing, every single category that I thought I was gonna, suffer from just got better. And the best part is, it wasn't just about the body. It was about my health as well. My sleep got better. And most of you guys don't understand how important sleep is for both fat loss, but just for overall health. My mind cleared up. Think about it. How many of you eat that disgusting bowl of oatmeal for breakfast filled with like preservatives, maybe some like chocolate things, berries and protein powder, and then after like an hour you just crash or you just have brain fog, you can't even speak properly? How many of you experienced that? Be honest. And the best part of it all, I was never hungry. Quite literally never hungry. The only time I was hungry was like after 12 or 14 hours, but even then I could go on for longer without having to consume food. You guys know when you consume carbs, after like 2 to 3 hours, you have to fill up with something. You have to eat a fruit or a snack because you get hangry, you get like irritated and agitated. No, I didn't track a single calorie. I simply ate when I was hungry, which usually till this day, 3 years later, is about 2 times a day. Not more than that. And before we move on, I think some of you might have this thought that red meat and saturated fats are bad for you because that's what everybody talks about, especially the mainstream narrative and maybe even your doctor. But think about this logically. How did humans evolve to eat this hyper palatable processed junk food with 0 calories? Do you think that's healthier for you than red meat? Like we weren't eating kale salads and rice cakes when we were hunter-gatherers, and you probably know this. The real danger out there is not red meat. That's actually the solution to your health problems. The real danger is all those junk foods promoted by the fitness industry because they will label things as protein cookie just to mask all the, junk food behind it. Once I personally saw that truth and saw that side of reality, there was no going back for me. And I realized we have all been lied to, but there is an answer to it. And just because you're deep into the rabbit hole of the fitness world, don't think it's over for you. You can literally turn your life around and your body around. Now, if you are one of those people that are stuck in this vicious cycle of counting calories, maybe rebounding, feeling like shit, feeling tired, having low libido, and just feeling, overall trashy, then trust me when I say that you will feel so much better once you just stop counting the calories and don't care about calories whatsoever. Stop following people who look fit but feel miserable, because the only reason they look fit most of the time is because they're on that juice. And second of all, if you feel miserable, is that really fitness? Is that really all about health? If you are curious, just try it for 30 days. After that, you can decide for yourselves. For 30 days, I want you to consume nothing but animal products, and preferably 90% should come from red meat. The other 10% could be things like eggs and dairy, butter and cheese. But 90% should come from red meat. And try to pick the fattiest parts of the animal, because the fat is where you will derive all the essential micronutrients, but also the energy required for you to actually, go about your day without becoming hungry all the time. This was my epiphany, and hopefully this will be yours too, because the more carnivores there are in this world, the better this world will become, quite honestly. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, comment down below, share this with a friend who might be, obese or fat or having a hard time just losing fat overall. Don't forget to also follow me on my Instagram and my TikTok, and please consider subscribing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.